Hi there. We're reading Esperanza Rising again this evening. I hope you're all doing well. Um, I have to admit to you that I bought a whole bunch of Easter candy for you guys to give to you before spring break in those little eggs that some of you saw sitting in the room. And I've actually started eating the Easter candy my own self, and I feel kind of a little bit guilty about it. I hope you were able to smuggle some candy into your house before everything got shut down. And I'm also wearing these in honor of Easter because I couldn't wear them in class, sadly, because we're not in class. Anyhow, um, are you ready? We're reading the chapter called Las Almendras, almonds. Ay, my neck hurts, said Mamma as she massaged the back of her head with her hand. It's not my neck, it's my arms that are sore, said Hortensia. It is the same for everyone, said Josefina. When you first start in the sheds, the body refuses to bend, but in time you will get used to the work. Everyone had come home that night tired and with various aches and pains. They gathered in one cabin for dinner, so it was crowded and noisy. Josefina warmed a pot of beans, and Hortensia made fresh tortillas. Juan and Alfonso talked about the fields, while Miguel and Isabel played with the babies, making them squeal with laughter. Mama cooked arroz, and Esperanza was surprised that Mama knew just how to brown it first in the oil with onions and peppers. Esperanza chopped tomates for a salad and hoped that no one would mention the sweeping. She was glad this day was over. Her bruises had been to her pride. Isabel took a fresh tortilla, sprinkled it with salt, rolled it up like a cigar, and waved it at Miguel. How come you and Tio Alfonso won't let me go behind the cabin with you? Shh, he said. It's a surprise. Why are you so full of secrets? Said Esperanza. But neither Alfonso nor Miguel answered. They simply smiled while they prepared their plates. They ate dinner, but before they could slice a cantaloupe for dessert, Alfonso and Miguel disappeared, with instructions not to follow them. What are they doing? Demanded Isabel. Hortensia shrugged as if she knew nothing. Miguel came back just before sunset. Senora and Esperanza, we have something to show you. Esperanza looked at Mamma. It was obvious Mamma was as confused as she was. They all followed Miguel to where Alfonso was waiting. Behind the cabin was an old oval washtub with one end cut off. It had been set on its side, forming a little shrine around a plastic statue of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Someone had built a grotto of rocks around the base of the tub. Around it, a large plot of earth had been fenced in by sticks and rope and planted with thorny stems, each with only a few branches. Isabel gasped. It's beautiful. Is that our statue? Josefina nodded. But the roses came from far away. Esperanza searched Miguel's face, her eyes hopeful. Papa's? Yes, these are your papa's roses, said Miguel, smiling at her. Alfonso had dug circles of earth around each plant, casitas, little houses that made moats for deep watering, just like he had done in Aguas Calientes. But how? Esperanza remembered the rose garden as a blackened graveyard. After the fire, my father and I dug down to the roots. Many were still healthy. We carried the cuttings from Aguas Calientes, and that's why we had to keep them wet. We think they will grow. In time, we will see how many bloom. Esperanza bent closer to look at the stems rooted in mulch. They were leafless and stubby, but lovingly planted. She remembered the night before the fire, when she had last seen the roses. She had wanted to ask Hortensia to make rosehip tea, but she'd never had the chance. Now, if they bloomed, she could drink the memories of the roses that had known Papa. She looked at Miguel, blinking back tears. Which one is yours? Miguel pointed to one. Which one is mine? He smiled and pointed to the one that was closest to the cabin wall and already had a makeshift trellis propped against it. So you can climb, he said. Mamma walked up and down, carefully touching each cutting. She took Alfonso's hands in her own and kissed him on each cheek. Then she went to Miguel and did the same. Muchas gracias, she said. Mama looked at Esperanza. Didn't I tell you that Papa's heart would find us wherever we go? Sorry. Sorry. The next morning, Hortensia put a piece of fabric over the window and sent Alfonso next door with Miguel, Juan, and the babies. Hortensia, Mama, and Josefina brought in the big wash tubs and filled them half full of cold water. Then they heated pots of water on the stove and warmed the baths. Esperanza was excited at the idea of getting into a tub. All they had done since they had arrived was wash their faces and arms with cold water in the sink. She hadn't had a real bath since she left Aguascalientes. But it was Saturday, and tonight was the Jamaica, so the entire camp was getting cleaned up. Baths were being taken, shirts ironed, and hair washed and crimped. Hortensia had given Esperanza her bath since she was a baby, and they had an established routine. Esperanza stood near the tub with her arms outstretched, while Hortensia undressed her. Then she got in the tub and tried not to wiggle while Hortensia washed her. She'd tilt her head back, keeping her eyes closed, while Hortensia rinsed her hair. Finally, she stood up and nodded, which was Hortensia's signal to wrap a towel around her. Esperanza went to one of the wash tubs, put her hands out to her sides, and waited. Josefina looked at Hortensia and raised her eyebrows. Isabel said, Esperanza, what are you doing? Mama walked over to Esperanza and said softly, I've been thinking that you're old enough to bathe yourself, don't you think? Esperanza quickly dropped her arms and remembered Marta's taunting voice, saying, No one will be waiting on you here. Yes, Mama, she said, and for the second time in 2 days she felt her face burning as everyone stared at her. Hortensia came over, put her arm around Esperanza, and said, We are accustomed to doing things a certain way, aren't we, Esperanza? But I guess I am not too old to change. We will help each other. I will unbutton the buttons you cannot touch, or you cannot reach, and you will help Isabel, yes? Josefina, we need more hot water in these tubs. Andale, hurry. As Hortensia helped her with her blouse, Esperanza whispered, Thank you. Isabel and Esperanza went first, bathing in the tubs, then bending their heads over to wash their hair. Mama and Josefina poured cups of water over them to rinse off the soap. The women took turns going back and forth to the stove for hot water. Esperanza liked being with all of them in this tiny room, talking and laughing and rinsing each other's hair. Josefina and Hortensia talked about all the gossip in the camp. Mama sat in her slip and combed out Isabel's tangles. The women took their turns, and when Hortensia needed hot water, Esperanza rushed to get it for her before anyone else could. Clean and dressed with still wet hair, Esperanza and Isabel went outside to the wooden table under the trees. Josefina had given them a burlap bag of almonds that she wanted shelled. Isabel bent over and brushed her hair in the dry air. Are you coming to the Jamaica tonight? She asked. Esperanza didn't answer at first. She had not left the cabin since she had made a fool of herself yesterday. I don't know, maybe. My mama says it's best to get it over with and face people, and that if they tease you, you should just laugh, said Isabel. Boy, that's great advice, huh? I know, said Esperanza, fluffing her own hair that was already almost dry. She dumped the nuts onto the table and picked up an almond still in its flattened pod. The soft, fuzzy outside hull looked like two hands pressed together, protecting something inside. Esperanza popped it open and found the almond shell. She snapped the edge of the shell and pried it apart, and then pulled the meat from its defenses and ate it. I suppose Marta will be there tonight. Probably, said Isabel, and all of her friends, too. How does she know English? She was born here, and her mother, too. They are citizens, said Isabel, helping shell the almonds. Her father came from Sonora during the Revolution. They have never even been to Mexico. There's lots of kids who live in our camp who have never been to Mexico. My father doesn't like it when Marta comes to our Jamaicas, though, because she is always talking to people about striking. There was almost a strike during almonds, but not enough people agreed to stop working. My mama says that if there had been a strike, we would have had to go into the orchard and shake the trees ourselves for these almonds. Then we're lucky. What is your mother making with these nuts? Flan de almendra, said Isabel. She will sell slices at the Jamaica tonight. Oh, that sounds so good. Esperanza's mouth watered. Almond flan was one of her favorite sweets. Then I've made my decision. I will come. That sounds like something I would do. I don't think I'm going to go. Oh, we'll be having flan. Oh, hi, I'll be right there. All right, we will read the second part of Las Almendras at another time. Hope you enjoyed reading. Hope you're enjoying being on Google Classroom. And hopefully soon after tomorrow, everyone will be able to have Chromebooks and be on there, and we'll be able to communicate and hang out together a little bit. There's also a feature where we can have meetings together, like as a class, and that might be kind of fun to set up. So I'll have to look into that and see how that works. Anyway, have a lovely evening or afternoon, depending on whatever time it is. See you later. Bye.